Welcome to Texas in the Federal System. This lecture will be a little bit shorter. It'll include some outside YouTube videos and a PBS video. Basically, what we're going to explore in this lecture is the ultimate relationship between the state of Texas and the federal government. First, I want you to watch the video Federalism, Lessons of Katrina that's posted in this week's module. And while you're watching the video, I want you to be able to answer the following questions with a little bit of supporting evidence from the video. Who ultimately failed the people of New Orleans? Was it the federal government? Was it the state government? Or was it the local government? The video is about 30 minutes long. Go and watch it and then come back and listen to the rest of this lecture. Now, federalism offers 5 significant advantages for creating impact on solving difficult problems at all levels of government. Federalism protects the nation against tyranny. When one political party loses control of the national government, it is still likely to hold office in a number of states and can continue to challenge the party in power at the national level. Now, the framers saw the diffusion of power as a check against the power of factions to be able to control the entire government. They believed that federalism would make it more difficult for any one ideological group to impose their will upon the rest of the nation. Federalism allows unity without uniformity. The national government cannot solve every issue that divides the states. Instead, issues are debated at every level of government, from the city, local, state, and up to the federal. Information about state action spreads quickly from government to government, especially during periods when the national government is relatively slow to respond to pressing issues. Federalism also encourages innovation. States can't be the laboratories of democracy. If they adopt programs that fail, the negative effects are limited. If the programs succeed, they can be adopted by other states and maybe even by the national government. Georgia, for example, was the first state to permit 18-year-olds to vote. Wisconsin was a leader in requiring welfare recipients to work. California moved early on global warming, and Massachusetts created one of the first state programs to provide health insurance to all of its citizens. Federalism helps to produce new leaders. Federalism allows state and local leaders to gain experience before moving on to the national stage. Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and George Bush previously served as governors of the respective states of Georgia, California, Arkansas, and Texas. All told, 20 of the nation's 45 presidents served as governor at some point before winning the presidency. In addition, 9 current or former governors, John Case, Jeb Bush, Jim Gilmore, Chris Christie, Mike Huckabee, George Pataki, Bobby Jindal, Scott Walker, and Rick Perry all ran for the Republican Party's nomination for president back in 2016 before they lost to Trump. But anyway, federalism also promotes government by the people, and this is more important than the rest of these basically combined. By providing numerous areas for the decision making, federalism promotes many opportunities for Americans to participate in the process of government and helps keep government close to the people. Every day, thousands of U.S. adults serve on city councils, school boards, neighborhood associations, and planning commissions. Federalism helps build the public's greater trust in government at both the state and local level. The closer the specific level of government is to the people, the more the citizens have a tendency to trust government as a whole. Now, even though federalism offers a number of advantages in creating impacts, it also creates at least 3 potential barriers as citizens seeks answers to their problems. Federalism confuses citizens. Just as federalism encourages cooperation between federal, state, and local governments, it can confuse citizens about which level of government to ask for help. Where do they go to ask about better schools? Whom do they ask for help in getting health insurance? What kind of job training is available from their federal, state, and or local government? The answers to these questions are often confusing, thereby undermining the sense that federalism works for the citizens. Federalism has a tendency to weaken accountability, and it can create income or inequality. The freedoms that stimulate innovation across governments can create inequality in states that set lower standards to basically draw more businesses to their state. Where national laws do not exist, it is tempting for each state to try to undercut another state's regulations to gain a competitive advantage in areas such as attracting new industry, regulating environmental concerns, or setting basic eligibility standards for welfare or health benefits. Now, the accountability issue is this goes along with the video that you watched, Lessons from Katrina, and the questions that I asked you to basically note as you watch the video. Who was ultimately accountable for that fiasco? Who do you blame? And this is where it confuses citizens and it weakens the ability to find and hold people accountable for the mistakes that they made at all levels of government. Federalism in the Constitution. State power under the Articles of Confederation, which the United States' first governing document, it gave the states the primary role in governance. It left the national government weak in its powers. Without the power to tax or enforce legislation or protect the borders, it was clear that the United States needed a stronger national government. The federal system under the Constitution established a national government and gave each state government a little bit of power, basically their own sovereignty. This possessing supreme political authority within a geographic area. Under the Constitution, the government derives its power from the American people, and under the Articles, from the people of the individual states. Now, the Supremacy Clause in Article 6 provides that the United States Constitution, federal laws, and treaties are superior to state constitutions and laws, and it provides that state courts must adhere to the Constitution and federal laws. Several other provisions of the Constitution are also important in understanding the nature of American federalism. We have the 10th Amendment. Now, this amendment was added in an effort to alleviate concerns that the federal government had too much power. It's also called the States' Rights Amendment, and it stipulates, quote, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Other provisions protecting state interests include equal representation in the Senate, the power to tax and maintain a militia, and the power to regulate commerce within the state. Then we have the Elastic Clause, or as some people call it, the Necessary and Proper Clause. This provision provides support for implied national power, and this exercise of implied national powers often comes in conflict with state powers that were granted under the 10th Amendment. Next, we have the Full Faith and Credit Clause. This clause provides that each state must recognize the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. The public policy exception to this clause is the concept that states do not have to give full faith and credit to actions of other states where those actions violate a state's policy. Just look at state concealed carry laws to highlight this exception. Last but not least, we have the Commerce Clause. This allows Congress to regulate commerce between the states. Now, in the last lecture, when we talked about federalism, and there was a court case, and it comes back up in the PBS video, Wickard versus Filburn, that basically talked a little bit about how government power has expanded through the Commerce Clause. So I'm not going to talk a whole bunch about that.